All right, Big Man, today is Thursday. It is March 31st. Welcome to the Dog Walk presented by Barstool Sports. Here with Chief, double dose this week.
I'm back.
We're back, and it's not usually your double dose will be, your triple dose, sorry, technically. It's just the drafts are always such like a big.
They're just baked in. Like I don't even think about it.
Yeah, it's like recorded the week before. It just doesn't feel like your weekly thing.
But for the audience, it's probably a lot. Yeah. It's probably a lot of tea for that.
Well, it's taking me 5 days. That's entirely too much.
Yeah.
Entirely too much. But no, we're not doing a doc today. We got another interesting topic, so we're going to kind of shoot the breeze on
one
it
that you found.
One that I found.
But I love.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I gave Chief the ultimatum. I said, Chief, if you would be so kind, I need a podcast partner for tomorrow. He said, of course, like he always does. And I gave him 2 options. I said, Chief, we could either review this doc that's very my arena. Which
I watched like weeks ago because I thought we were doing it. And then you rugged me to have an NFT callback. And I can't remember what we did instead. Something with Dante, right?
Yes, I forgot what happened. I think I got the tattoo guy and the meter man. I don't know. I had a lot of blue collar jobs.
Yeah,
in the last.
And that was. We'll do that one eventually. Have you watched it yet, Jasper?
No, I'm going to watch it though. Yeah,
you'll love it.
So for people, this is like a sneak preview. We're going to do Jasper Mall on Amazon Prime at some point, probably next week, most likely. But you chose this one. That was the topic for you, but I found it somehow. And it's about BlackRock. It's got Bill Gates in there.
You got the boogeyman's energy, green energy. So it kind of on topic with what we're doing with plastics a little bit, like same general umbrella, I would say.
But with that, and we've done Gates before, we've done BlackRock before, we've done a lot of this stuff.
A lot of boogeymen in this episode.
What's the Venn diagram?
Oh, they're like perfectly overlapped. Like this to me, this might be like the most quintessential Chief episode ever.
Really?
I think so, because I got my ears up about BlackRock. I got my ears up about Bill Gates. I'm very just like, probably about the same as most people. We're like just kind of curious about green energy and like what the future is going to look like and plastics or renewables and all that kind of shit. I'm just generally intrigued by it without knowing too much, which is why I kind of really like this show, because I feel like I always like research things and spend time on things that I normally wouldn't. Necessarily, like if they come across, I'm like, that's interesting, but I make it a point to try to learn stuff, and I enjoy that aspect of this show.
It's funny because I've gotten shit from people before, like, oh, you literally just sit there and like you guys just pick what you want Chief to educate you about. But like, that's true.
But I also most of the time I have to educate like myself.
Yeah, but like you're just kind of like a learning guy. Like you went to a prep school, you sat around the round table.
That
you
was
like
great.
To learn.
Yeah. Well, that and I was. Except for prep school, I was not a school guy.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like I did. I would sit there in class, and they would have. I always use a reference of those maps, and they'd be like, they pull down the map, like, oh, this was, Europe in 1868, the Holy Roman Empire. I'd be like, oh, like I wonder what happened with these countries. And I would just like play like war games in my head, looking at a map for 50 minutes during class, and the bell would ring, and I'd be like, oh, I didn't learn anything, get out of there. But I would never like pay it. I was not like a studious person except for prep school, and then that was then right back to my old ways.
Yeah, for sure. So that's good that you picked it up later in life, I guess.
Yeah, I've always been very curious, but I've always had a problem with authority. I don't want don't tell me what I should learn. Don't tell me why I need to learn algebra. I just don't want to do it. Sorry.
No, I feel you.
Yeah,
I feel you. So that's why this is a great way to do that, and also it's like we've always said that too. Like this is like kind of like the Wikipedia podcast. Like you're just going to learn a little bit, just enough to be able to contribute to a conversation if it gets brought up.
Yep.
But you're not going to be an expert.
Yeah, and I would love, and we've talked about this before too, and we've had a couple people on, but I would love like another iteration of this show to be like, all right, we talk about something, and then like the next week or later we bring on like an actual expert to discuss it.
Like that was great about the commercial fisherman, Michael Schellenberger, the woolly mammoth guy. Like we've done a lot of cool ones.
Schellenberger is on Rogan today.
Yeah, I saw that. I saw that because he's running for mayor.
He's running for governor of California. Big job.
Yeah, it's a big job.
Yeah. I wonder if he's running as one of those people who are like, I'm running just because I know I can't win, but I'm going to raise awareness, raise my own profile, sell more books, and then raise awareness of a particular issue. I feel like Andrew Yang did that. Like he was the universal basic income guy like that. And maybe Bernie Sanders is probably a little bit more well-rounded. But there are people who just like run because they want to talk about one thing and get that into like the mainstream dialogue of politics, knowing full well that they don't have a chance. Maybe he's like the homeless nuclear guy for California, and then he'll get smashed because he probably can't raise enough money. I could see that.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe. I don't know the dynamic of California at all, but just from talking to him, he seemed like a educated guy with some ideas and solutions.
He seems pragmatic to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think there was like a split second where Yang thought he had a chance.
I
think people did too. He caught some steam there for a while.
He did. He definitely did. Yang, like, he's an interesting guy because he's not a politician, but he I don't know. He's one of those people who is like, he looks cool by like politician standards, and then when you like, then he also, you look cool next to like Biden, and
put him in a,
he's still not like a regular guy, and so he had a few like very cringe moments on the campaign, and then he ran for governor or mayor of New York City too, and got absolutely boat raced on that one.
That's what makes me think that you're right, and he probably was just doing. But who knows? I could be wrong.
Yeah,
we could be wrong.
I feel like Yang and Buttigieg and those guys the last cycle like kind of made some noise for a while. And
but he also kind of Yang at least to my interpretation, he turned into you lived long enough to become villain.
Yeah,
and that's with like the New York stuff. Like he kept putting his foot in his mouth. It seemed, or people kept making a bit mountains out of molehills. Maybe on the other end,
there's probably some of that too, but it's also like I think there's all.
I don't know exactly what he said, but there was always stories about like
you gotta stay hot. I feel like in politics where you can't run for president, lose, and then go back and be like, I want a job that's like 300 times lower than this.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and it's like, hey, we're already familiar with you, so there's nothing cool, new, or exciting. So all we're gonna do is shit on you.
Yeah.
And 300 steps is probably an exaggeration. New York's fucking huge, obviously. It's a big job. But yeah, it felt like he couldn't get out of his own way after a while.
Mm-hmm. But sorry, folks, we are going to talk about BlackRock and Bill Gates and energy and whatnot.
Yeah.
But before we talk about that, I want to talk about Roman, Chief.
Love Roman
because most guys, if you're out there, if you're listening, you've definitely tried different ways to last longer in bed, but thinking about baseball doesn't always work. Your foolproof method, I assure you, doesn't work either.
Does not. Yeah. And it's not even that. Like, hey, I've said this so many times. So if you're having sex, I remember like being a kid, like I think all guys have been there. Like, I can't imagine what it's like to have sex. And for me, it was a little bit later. Mm-hmm. So, but like when you're a kid, when you finally get there, like you want to just enjoy it and be in the moment, and you don't want it to be over in 2 seconds. So grab yourself a Roman swipe, be in the moment. Everybody's having a good time, and because it doesn't transfer your partner, wipe it on, go to town.
Yep. Clinically proven way to last longer. But that's a key word there. Keyword, clinically proven. Go to GetRoman.com/dogwalk to get your first month of swipes for just $5 when you choose a monthly plan. That's GetRoman.com/dogwalk. Make sure you're using Roman, everybody. Go grab some Roman swipes. All right, Chief. What's going on here with Bill Gates and BlackRock getting in bed together?
So I should say, like, my ears perk up because to me, like, those are two, a guy, Bill Gates, and obviously he has a giant organization across many different spectrums and or sectors, and BlackRock, where it's just like they are like the what's underneath the bed. Like they're kind of Bond villain. They have like those Bond villain vibes to them a little bit. This particular project to me sounds fucking awesome. So it's a very cool technology. And maybe it's only seems like a very cool technology if you're a fucking nerd, which I guess I've later in life have realized that that's exactly what I am. But basically what they're doing is they have these solar panels with an additional kind of air filtration system. So it's powered by solar. You stick it on your roof. It has these filters and fans that extract oxygen and hydrogen that is just in the atmosphere, puts them together, and it makes water. So it just takes air that's all around, keeps pumping it through the system, and it condenses and it makes water, and it makes a lot of water. Like it's not just like you think like you're just walking in the air, right? And this is their initial test program. The company was founded in Arizona, so very dry, very arid. It's not like they put it on like the Washington State or Oregon, where they just have a lot of just, moisture in the air naturally. This is like one of the most arid places in the world, Arizona. And they have this technology where they combine it and they filter it through, and it ends, they say it's quote unquote perfect drinking water, meaning, there's no contaminants, there's no lead, there's no nothing. It's in perfect like pH level, and you suck this, on a molecule level, you're making a face like you don't buy it.
For now, like that's what I hate about this shit. It's like, oh, this is the best way, and then it's like, oh, well, actually,
yeah.
Let me tell you about this.
Well, we'll get to some of that,
right,
but I don't have anything concrete on that based on what I've read. I'm sure if people find things that are objections to this, I'd love to hear it because it's not readily obvious to me. My ears perk up on a couple of things.
You just drank that water from the air. Did you know that air came from that Honda Civic? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
Sure, maybe, I mean, but like they test it and it's pretty pure, pretty clean. And the big thing with green energy and green anything is how cost effective is this? Because ultimately that's what it is. Okay, so we talked about the Tesla batteries, and it's like, well, is it really good for the environment? Does it really actually save you that much? Right now it does because fucking gas is through the roof. But in a normal time where gas goes down to $2 or less, then you could argue like, oh, well, like you're plugging it in, you're doing this, you're doing that. It doesn't necessarily theoretically save you that much, and it doesn't lower your impact, your carbon footprint that much. And there's all sorts of examples like that. But with this one, to install it and pay for the maintenance, because they say the maintenance will probably cost you about $100 a year to do the maintenance. Not that much. You get the whole thing, installation, so the labor, the parts, the maintenance, and it has a 15-year warranty on these machines, $7,500. So like retail cost to install $6,000, 15 years, paying $100 a year, gets you that next $1,500. It's not like some crazy price point.
No.
And if you're a person who drinks a lot of bottled waters, this thing produces, you need you need two panels basically. So you're going to have like two solar panel looking things on your roof. And this thing, for $7,500 produces 38,000 liters of water per year.
Oh, okay.
So in Arizona, and I saw another video of a guy who was doing like a product review he lived in San Diego. So similar thing, like very, dry, arid. San Diego obviously is going to have like the moisture blowing in off the ocean, which might give him a little bit stronger of an output than someone in Arizona, theoretically. But 38,000 liters a year at a cost that if you bought like that many liters of bottled water from Costco, it's about half the price. So it's less, and you're not having your your plastic to recycle. It's comes, suck it out of the air. That's found water. It's not like you need a well, and it goes through a tube, and you can have it come right out of you've got a Kohl's or a Kohler rather faucet, and you just turn it on, and there comes the water. That's a lot of water. That's more than I was expecting. I was like, kids, you think about that just means we're just walking through water at all times, like a lot that we just are unaware of. But 38,000 liters, that's the equivalent of like a case a week, going through a case meaning 24 bottles of water a week. That's a lot of water. That's a lot of water to produce. And that's from an arid area. I wonder if you're here or if you're in one of these places that are maybe more tropical or just gets more rainfall in general, like or even just like the condensation, like if you're in Tennessee, like they always talk about the Smoky Mountains in Tennessee, because they just have those clouds that it's not smoke, it's clouds, it's condensation going through the air. I wonder if you get even more output from there. So if you're getting that much, and that's just from two panels, what do you get if you put 20, 25? Can you provide all the water for an entire school if you put these panels on the roof of the school? Could you have all the water usage you need to run an entire school if you do this like en masse at school? I don't know. I don't think it's been tested yet because they're still in the early development stages. This company was founded in 2014, and they started, they had like a working prototype, and they started, growing pretty big, not, relatively big in the last couple of years. So really starting in 2019, they started getting more funding as they did a proof of concept. It works. This is the price point. Like, it checks a lot of boxes to the point that BlackRock and Gates found these guys and decided to put big money into it. So Gates has this, he's got his name on a ton of different things, but he's got this, one of his arms, business things is that he's big into green. He's huge into green. And so this company, and when we're talking about BlackRock, Gates has like his whole like green energy portfolio that has raised $1 billion. And this company in particular, it's called Source Global. Okay. And they've received $100 million from Gates, $100 million separately from Microsoft. They received $100 million in a grant from BlackRock, meaning they're not taking an equity position. They're just saying like, hey, this is an interesting thing that we want to just put money behind. And it's like, wow, $100 million with, and the quote from Fink, their CEO, was, "We are not doing this to make money." And it's like, bullshit. Calling bullshit on that one. I don't know. It's not readily obvious how they're making money off of this because they have not taken an equity position as of yet. Others have. Bank of America has invested. General Motors has invested. They have like big boys and big money behind them. BlackRock themselves, do you know how big that company is? I mean, we've talked about it a little bit, but I found this number today, so I'm not sure if we mentioned on the last one. They manage $10 trillion in assets. One company manages $10 trillion in assets. So that's real. That's everything, right?
I mean, that's fake.
I think money is fake. Yeah. We got to have somebody on like that's smarter than us to explain it. But I was watching this
Marty Bent, Bitcoin Marty.
Bitcoin Marty, yeah. Like he's big on that. Yeah. And but I was watching that the HBO documentary about all the Robinhood, GameStop things last night, and they have this thing called naked shorting, which is literally like it's just like they just issue fake shares, like they're not real. It's just fake. It's illegal, but it's very hard to like regulate and monitor. So these big banks and these big investment hedge funds just do it all the time. So when they're shorting something like GameStop, and they have to like lend out these shares, they just make them up. They're just not real. It's fucking insane.
That is crazy.
It's insane.
Holy fuck.
So like we should do an episode on that kind of stuff too. But anyways, BlackRock, $10 trillion in assets. So yeah, I think they can probably lose 100 million or give 100 million away and not even fucking notice.
What do you think about that trillion number, Harry?
I can't wrap my head around that.
Are you
I don't think your mic's on.
I can't wrap my head around that.
Neither can I. It's just it's like a trillion. Like how many, what are we talking? How many zeros is that? 9, 10?
It's crazy.
It's crazy. So to have $10 trillion in assets around the world is fucking insane. But they swear they're not doing it to make money. This is all just like for the good of humanity, which is what BlackRock is totally known for, just doing things for the good of humanity. And Gates says the same thing. It's not about the money. It's not about the money. So we'll see. But it's a very cool technology. The thing that makes my ears perk up, okay, because it's like, everyone's talking like we're gonna have water shortages. We always used to joke about The Big Short with Michael Burry, and at the end of that movie, they're doing.
It's the only thing he invests in
is water. Okay, and I've been hearing for years. The United States. One of the reasons why we had such fertile farmland all through the Midwest is like that. All those states, those flyover states, were like sitting on an aquifer that you just dig down. There's just water forever, and now they're saying, "Well, that's really kind of running out." Is what they say. Who knows? But that's what's one of those things that's said. So it's like we need more water. We got sea level rise, but that's salinated water. And this is one of those things where I'm like, I swear, like I'm not smart enough to come up with the technology, but I think everybody has kind of had this idea. Like we know it's H2O. Just take some hydrogen and take some oxygen, make it in a fucking lab.
Yeah.
And even there's many like bottled water companies that purify their water this way, where they evaporate it so that would be a way to like desalinate or get some of these contaminants out of there. They evaporate it, capture the vapor, let it settle, And then that is your purified water. I'm trying to, it was the Smart Water, I think, does their water that way. Yeah, okay. I'm pretty sure. And so there's different forms of filtration and purification, but that is a method that people use. So they're basically taking that idea and they came up with a solar powered contraption to just do it in the air. So like you could, everyone gets worried about like BlackRock and Gates and how they're always like, he wants to control everybody and this and that, and who knows, maybe he fucking does. And we'll get to that too in a second. But if you're coming up with a way that you can power your house with batteries and solar, if they get that better, you can provide yourself with all your own drinking water. I mean, you can just be totally off the fucking grid and not have to,
worry about shit.
Yeah, you get and then if someone comes up with a decentralized internet, which is something that's been talked about and theorized. It was even on that show, Silicon Valley. Like that was like one of the big end projects. Did you ever watch that show?
No, I never have actually.
Pretty funny show.
Yeah.
And
it was like the prime of TJ Miller, right?
Yes. Yeah. Yes. And can I tell you something? I'm blanking on who TJ Miller is.
He's one of the main characters, though.
Okay. I was going to try to fake it, and then I'm like, you know what? I don't want to fake it.
Yeah, he's one of the main characters.
Yeah. But it's a good show, and that was like one of their things, like, oh, I'm going to develop a decentralized internet, and people in like real life talk about that too. So if you have a decentralized internet, you have all the sun provides all of your energy, and the air provides all of your water. You're fucking set, So you get a third panel to account for your shower water and brushing your teeth, and you got all your drinking water, all your shower, you got everything, and just sucked out of the air. So the part where my ears go up, and this goes back to that aquifer and the farmland and all that. You know who the single biggest owner of farmland in the country is?
Bill Gates.
Bill Gates.
All right. I saw this. You like that? I don't know the answer to a lot of questions, but I knew that one because I saw that recently.
So you're not in it for the money, Bill, with this particular project. Maybe he doesn't make any money off this, but maybe since he owns 242,000 acres of farmland across 19 different states, including Illinois, Iowa, his biggest area for farmland is actually in Louisiana. Louisiana and Arkansas are his two biggest ones. Maybe it's because they sit along the Mississippi River. Who knows? But
you think he hates wild boars?
Razorbacks?
Well, just like the, how bad these boars are. It's like a big, serious problem.
Oh yeah,
they're pests. They're vermin.
They're fucking wild.
Yeah,
we should do an episode on those.
We should
get Sydney Wells in here.
Yeah,
and,
we should.
Because I could have this wrong, but it's like one of those facts where it's like
they don't know what to do.
They don't know what to do, but they also, like the wild boars, those were not like a native species. So what happened was when like colonialists and explorers would come over, they would just drop off pigs and goats and pigeons. That's how pigeons got here too, because they just wanted a reliable food source that they knew how to hunt when they came back or capture when they come back. And they just dropped off like these domesticated pigs, and they come back 4 years later and they look like wild boars with the thick hair and the tusk, but they looked like your Farmer Fran pig when they left. And then over generations of like the evolution to survival for those, they turned in from like a domesticated pig into a wild boar in like not that much time.
That's crazy.
It's a fucking wild fact. Now, that's one of those things I could have wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's accurate. So that's crazy. So, but maybe that is getting back to this thing. Maybe that's Gates's angle. He's like, I got all this farmland. I can control the food supply. My biggest hang up is, am I going to be able to produce enough water to really maximize output of this 242,000 acres that I own? Maybe if he's pulling the water from the air. And I looked up because I was like, man, like, what if like you're just walking around, we got a whole population, everybody just has a bloody, crusty nose all the time because there's no moisture in the air because we're sucking it out of the air for drinking water. Okay. And I'm like, could be. I don't want to have you ever had that where your nose is so dry that you just you breathe in and it pops and you're just gushing?
Yeah, or even you just rub it and like
that's a bad one.
Crack it open.
Yep. So like that's the winter blues right there.
Yeah.
They always say like that was, you sit in the nosebleed seats. Like that was one of the things because there's no moisture up there. You're up so high, the altitude, and your nose just starts bleeding.
WTF.
WTF. No, you didn't know that?
No.
No, I have to. Well, Harry? next week.
Put the pin.
Write that down.
Yeah, write that down. It's not actually on my list.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, so that's what that's from, and that's that show. And and so that, so I was like, hey, like, do plants absorb water from their leaves? And if we do this like at scale, right, is this going to fuck up the environment? Like, the road to hell is paved through good intentions. Okay, it's one of my favorite quotes. And turns out not really. Like, there's some plants that have adapted to suck moisture out of the air or even rainwater out of the air, but not really. Most water is absorbed through the roots. For like 95% of plants get 95% of their water that way. So if you just have this moisture in the air that theoretically nobody's really using, that could be like a big thing to solve a big problem in this country. And especially places, there was a documentary somewhere on, I think it was Netflix, but talking about these people in California, they have no water.
Yeah, I mean, this is first thing I thought of. The Colorado River's probably shaking in their boots right now.
Bad investment. Bad investment, because who was buying that?
The Waltons.
The Waltons, yeah. So they better run in better circles, because they had this. If they were talking to Gates a little bit more, they would get in on this project. And maybe they're in on this project too. Who knows?
I hate to be cynical, but then that's where I feel like it turns into a lobbyist off, and then whoever, like,
definitely,
and then it's just.
But pretty soon they'll find a way to tax you for using your own water.
Yeah, it's just, and then, then this guy, they're going to win, and then Gates' way is illegal, and then his, the Colorado rivers. I don't know. It's fucking disgusting.
That you're probably exactly right about that.
No, it's disgusting.
And that they talk about that in that documentary about the Robin Hood and Ken Griffin, where it's just like, they just have so much power and influence with their lobbyists that they have like an army of lawyers, and they just kill legislation whenever they feel like it. And they kill. So they started with Congress, and now they've kind of bought over the SEC, and it's just like they just do whatever they want. It's a Wild West, because they bought everything, so they just do whatever the fuck they want. And then who gets fucked? People like you, me, and the listeners of this show. And but I don't know, this one. I mean, I kept trying to like poke holes in it. And I'm sure there's something massive that I'm missing, but the ability to produce your own water from your own house, if you're a homeowner, you can just put one of these things up on your roof. I think that's great. Now, BlackRock, they're also the ones that don't really want anybody to own their own home. So they're buying up. I saw some stat that it was in 2020 or maybe it was 2021 that they bought 18% of all homes in America for that year. So that was after our podcast about that. But they bought 18% of all homes in America.
It's a lot of homes. But like Hochberg said, in some ways it wasn't bad. Like, he thought they got a bad rap on that because, places like Romeoville is an example. I can't believe we're coming back to this.
I know.
But
it props it up.
Yeah, and it helped the whole community.
So, it helped that community.
Yeah.
Okay, and the people who are already in those homes.
Yeah.
Long term, I'm not so sure that that's like the best thing for the country and the generic population. Like, it sucks if you're one of those people that I've been doing a good job in my home, and the bottom fell out of the market, and now I'm fucked. But, there's that thing where it's like, it's almost like a Tower of Babel thing. Tower of Babel?
I know it's one of your favorite
it's
fables.
Yeah, or it's the Bible. It's from the Bible. It's the Old Testament. It's not
my apologies.
Fable. I mean, and
I failed religion.
Failed religion. What's the word I'm looking for? Atheist.
And I know you love fables, all right? Don't you?
Yeah, I love a good
You've
fable.
told me that before.
Yeah. Oh, fables are great. There's wisdom in that.
We thought about a early on Redline segment where every sports scenario you were gonna relate it to a fable.
Oh, I don't even remember that. That would have been funny.
Because you told me, like, I'm a big fable guy. Man.
I love fucking fables. Yeah. And some of these things are like 40,000, like the Cinderella, Snow White, those stories they think could be like 25,000 years old.
Yeah.
So it's crazy. Yeah. And but anyways, so Atheist Ed. There was in 2008 they had that phrase that was, it's too big to fail. It's too big to fail. We can't let it fail. So we had to bail it out. And there's logic in that. There's also logic in it's so big that it has to fail. And you can't really press reset to get things going in actual more healthy way, in a more fair way, unless you let things fail and die. And that historically has always been part of capitalism, where it's like you have a product, you're doing well, you fly too close to the sun, or you make some mistakes, or technological changes happen where your product becomes irrelevant, And, you know, like newspapers versus the internet would be an example of that. And it's like, you know what? Some of those papers sucks. They just have to die. And that is the way of the world. And telephone operators, they're gone. Fucking payphones, they're gone. You know, like certain technologies, like you just don't bail.
Toll booths, like
all of that, right? And it's like, you know, adapt or die, and you just have to move on to the next thing. And it's going to be painful for certain people if it affects you personally. And you know, I definitely have sympathy or empathy, I don't know, for that. But you know, it's just the way of the world. And if we artificially, with bailouts and everything else, just save some of these things because people were making bad decisions or illegal decisions, then I don't think that, you know, sometimes things failing isn't bad. So if Romeoville got fucked, you know, those people, I feel bad for them, but maybe, you know, someone else comes in and buys it up for a $300,000 house. It was a $300,000 house in March, but in October it's $100,000. Well, then you just change their entire life, because now they can build back equity. They were able to get a house that they were never able to afford, and they were locked out of the process because the middle class has had their wages shrunk for forever. And you know, like again, I don't know that could be the case, but I don't just accept that BlackRock coming in and buying up all that real estate is a net positive over the 50-year time span. Yeah. So something to think about.
No, I hear you. Well, this is interesting, man. We'll see what happens.
I kind of want one. It's not that expensive.
Yeah, no, it's not. Not at all.
These Source Global things. Then you just, you know, I go through. I have like sparkling water, LaCroix. I just guzzle those things. And
but like I just don't. Just with the Great Lakes, like here where we live, I just don't. It's not really a thing. But I guess I don't know. Like,
but it's still your own water.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like Chicago, like it's city water, and you don't have to pay for it.
Yeah.
Do you drink out of the faucet?
Not anymore, really.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's true. I used to, but like so my brain is conditioned to think, oh yeah, just drink that water.
Yeah.
I don't.
Yeah.
I would. It's not like, but people told me not to do it. They said it's like there's
lead pipes. There's all sorts of things. Yeah. So like
then you hear it's like good for like it's good like
with
fluoride,
like
good for your teeth and shit.
Fluoride.
Yeah.
But it's, you know, too much of a good thing kind of thing. So
yeah,
you have to be careful with that.
And I'm like consistently stuck between, it's like
you don't know,
corporate greed or government incompetence. You know, like pick your poison.
Can I tell you what I think?
What do you think?
I think the corporate greed is why we have government incompetence. I don't think it's incompetence at all.
You don't think so?
I think that they're just like, well, this guy's funding my campaign, and my job is to pretend to represent the people. So I'm gonna, you know, I'll just take that dollar. And
it's just like everything. Like they have all this money, and I don't know if they spend it all the right way. And
they definitely don't.
Yeah,
they definitely don't. They spend it where the people like BlackRock tell them to spend it.
Yeah,
you know. So that's
that's honestly,
cynic. Yeah,
that's a fucking. I know it's cynic, but
yeah, I mean that's where I am. That's where my brain is like, you just can't trust anybody, and you know it's all one. And people are like, oh, left, right. They're all the fucking same.
Yeah,
and it's all just a distraction. And having said that, I like the idea of this solar panel water. Source Global, check them out.
He's feeling good about this draft.
You know, that was an unnecessary shot.
I'm sorry.
Unnecessary. I thought I performed well this past draft. Where's that?
Did.
Yeah.
You did.
Yeah.
Did you win?
I think I was in second, but
nice.
I don't think I'm going to win.
Yeah. I somehow got blown away, but whatever.
Bad draft.
Thank you. This was good. This was a nice, informative, interesting. Hopefully gets people's thoughts provoked. I don't know.
Yeah, I love doing shows like this. Yeah.
But that's it. Thanks everybody for listening. We'll be back tomorrow with True Crime Friday. Watch Undercurrent. It's 2 parts. It's only 1 hour each, so it's 2 hours total. It's an HBO true crime doc about a journalist.
Even just like the poster of it,
yeah,
I'm intrigued.
Yeah,
the poster is very like I'm gonna watch.
Yeah, it was interesting. I had no idea that it happened. It was honestly like I should have just had you watch it and sit in with us. But it was you'll be intrigued. By this guy.
It was good.
It was like the story's definitely not. Well, I mean, listen tomorrow.
Yeah,
tomorrow.
Yeah.
Sorry. But all right. Thanks everybody. We'll see you tomorrow.